At our baby shower, my sister raised her glass and said, "The deed was a mistake. That house belongs to us, not you." Mom added, "We're moving in right after the baby's born." Seconds later, a text from an unknown number lit my phone. "Don't react, they're recording you." I kept smiling, then walked away from the table, logged into the smart lock system, and updated the access settings. After that, I made one more move. By midnight, 64 missed calls. I should have known something was up the second my sister clinked her glass. We were halfway through the baby shower lunch. Light music, pastel decorations, everyone smiling, and she stands up like she's about to make a heartfelt toast. To my dear brother and his wife, she began, smiling wide enough to show every tooth. "Congratulations. But let's be honest, the deed was a mistake. That house belongs to us, not you." You could hear the collective gasp from 3 tables away. Before I could even process that, Mom chimed in from across the table, her fork still in hand. "We're moving in right after the baby's born. It's only fair. That place was meant to be ours in the first place." It was like someone had dumped ice water over my head. My wife froze next to me, gripping her fork so tight I thought it might snap. I opened my mouth to speak. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number, just 4 words. "Don't react. They're recording you." My stomach dropped. I scanned the table. Yep. My cousin had his phone angled just right, pretending to film the cake. I forced a smile so fake my cheeks ached, lifted my own glass, and toasted back. "Thanks for sharing that interesting perspective." Then I set my drink down, stood up, and walked away from the table without another word. In the hallway, I pulled out my phone, logged into the smart lock system for the house, and updated the access settings. Every family code deleted, swear guest access disabled. And then I made one more move. By midnight, 64 missed calls. I didn't buy the house to make a point. I bought it because my wife and I needed a place where nobody could yank the rug out from under us. Before that, family had always come with strings. 3 years ago, my parents were months behind on their mortgage. Dad called it a rough patch. Mom called me her safety net. I covered 2 payments, then a third, then their property taxes just until spring. At the same time, my sister kept borrowing for car repairs, exam fees, and a sudden girls' trip that couldn't be postponed. I picked up extra shifts, skipped vacations, tightened our budget. When my wife asked if we could slow the help down, I told her it was temporary and that I'd set boundaries. I didn't. The house came up because my grandparents' place finally sold. Mom said there might be something for the kids, then immediately floated that my sister should get the bulk because she'll start a family sooner. Jokes on everyone. We were already trying quietly, and infertility treatments aren't cheap. When the estate was ready, the something for me turned into nothing. So I did what I always do. I made it happen myself. I saved the down payment, found a small place that needed work, and negotiated hard. My wife and I signed the deed, moved in with hand-me-down furniture, and I spent nights and weekends fixing plumbing, wiring, and the roof. I paid contractors where I had to, did the rest myself. The day the paint finally dried, Mom stood in the living room and said, "It still feels like our family's house." She meant hers. I laughed it off then. I shouldn't have. From there, the asks got bolder. Dad needed a new transmission loan. Never repaid. Mom wanted help with a private dentist. Advance, also never repaid. My sister called crying about a security deposit after she'd broken a lease for her mental health. I paid it so she wouldn't move back with our parents and turned their crisis into another fire for me to put out. When we finally got pregnant, we told everyone at Sunday lunch. My sister smiled, then casually asked if the spare bedroom could be kept flexible because she and her boyfriend might need a place for a few weeks. Mom nodded like it was already decided. My wife squeezed my hand under the table. I said we'd think about it. We didn't. The mistake deed narrative started as whispers. Mom hinted that Grandma had intended for the house to stay in the bloodline as a family home. I reminded her the will had been clear and that our house wasn't part of that estate. She moved the goalposts. My hours of repairs were a community effort, apparently because Dad had given advice over the phone. Then my sister claimed she'd picked paint colors on Pinterest and therefore invested emotionally. Every week there was a new thread they tried to pull. I tightened boundaries. I stopped sending money automatically. I put household decisions in writing. When I told Mom we couldn't fund my sister's wedding bridge because we were saving for the baby, she got quiet, then cold. "You've changed since buying that house," she said. "Money made you selfish." 2 months later, my sister pushed farther. She brought over a moving plan scribbled on a legal pad. Dates, boxes, which room they would take, what furniture we should store. Temporary, of course. She said her lease was ending and she needed a soft landing before leveling up. I told her no. She called me controlling. Mom texted that evening. "She's fragile. Be the bigger person." Meanwhile, my wife started getting messages from a cousin warning us that certain relatives were framing me as the hoarder of a family asset. Screenshots followed. He manipulated the deed. One aunt wrote that house is community property. Another declared like Facebook comments could overrule the county recorder. I forwarded the messages to my lawyer friend who said not to argue online and to document everything. Then came the helpful suggestions. Dad floated that I add my parents as secondary owners to protect the house if something happened to me. My sister suggested we do a family trust with her as temporary trustee, while my wife was too hormonal to decide. I nearly laughed. My wife didn't. She cried in the car on the way home and asked if our baby would grow up in a house where people walked in whenever they wanted. I installed cameras, updated the smart lock, and turned off every shared login my parents once had for emergencies. I told everyone plainly, no codes, no keys, no surprise visits. My sister accused me of isolating my wife. Mom said I was ripping the family apart. Dad warned me not to make enemies you'll need later. They made it sound like I was drowning them. All I did was lock my door. The money pressure returned with a new twist. My sister claimed I owed her because I had used family savings to buy the house. I hadn't. I sent bank statements proving the down payment came from our account. She switched angles. She had sacrificed by staying with our parents so I could play homeowner. That same week, she asked if we could co-sign a car so the baby would have an aunt with reliable transport. I said absolutely not. She called my wife privately to say I was abusive with finances. My wife put her on speaker and told her not to call again with that. Every refusal escalated the rhetoric. Family over paperwork, Dad said. Intent matters more than signatures, Mom added. And the nicer our nursery looked, the more intense the comments got. When a crib arrived, my sister snapped a photo and posted that it would look even better in our room when we move in. I took the post as a warning. So, by the time the baby shower happened, they weren't just fishing for access. They were preparing a situation. The toast wasn't random. It was a script. Make a claim in public, catch me reacting on camera, spin it into conflict, then use it as proof that I was unsafe and they needed to supervise the house for the baby's sake. I didn't react. I smiled, walked out. They were sure I'd keep paying, keep apologizing, keep smoothing things over because that's who I'd been. The old me would have explained, negotiated, compromised. The new me made a list, checked the documents, and lined up a move they wouldn't see coming. And when I made it, the phone started ringing. By the next morning, the group chat with my parents and sister was a heated discussion. Messages pouring in, all caps, guilt trips, voice notes of my mom sighing dramatically. My sister's favorite line, "You're making this harder than it needs to be." Translation, "Just give us what we want so we don't have to pretend to be nice to you anymore." I didn't reply. I went to work like normal, but every time my phone buzzed, I felt my stomach tighten. Then around lunchtime, my mom called. "Your father and I are driving over tonight." She said, "No, you're not." I said flatly, "Don't start. We just want to talk. You can talk on the phone." She switched to the wounded mother tone instantly. "I didn't raise you to turn your back on family." I almost laughed. The same woman who 3 years ago refused to lend me $200 when my car broke down because she was tight on cash, now expected me to house 4 people for free. That evening, I came home to find my sister's SUV parked halfway across my driveway. She was sitting on the hood scrolling her phone like she owned the place. "Really?" I asked. She smirked. "We need to sort this out in person. The baby's due in 3 weeks. You're really going to make Mom stress over this." I walked past her without answering. Inside, my parents were standing in the living room, shoes on, coats half off, like they just decided to camp here until I caved. Dad spoke first. "This is ridiculous. It's temporary. 10 months and then they're out. 10 months isn't temporary." I shot back. "That's almost a year of chaos in my house." "Chaos?" My sister scoffed. "We're family." "Exactly," I said, "which is why I'm not going to let this destroy what's left of our relationship." Mom rolled her eyes. "Oh, don't be dramatic. It's a house. You'll survive." That was it. The moment the last thread of patience snapped. I'd been swallowing their digs, their entitlement, their sudden belief that my life was just a storage unit for their bad choices. You know what? You're right. It is just a house, which is why I get to decide who lives in it. And the answer is no. The room went dead silent. My sister's jaw actually dropped. Dad's face turned the shade of an overripe tomato. "You're making a big mistake," he said slowly. "No," I said, pulling my phone from my pocket. "I'm fixing one." I opened the Smart Lock app, tapped into the guest access settings, and deleted every single temporary code they'd ever been given. Then I updated the master code, enabled the camera alerts, and activated the auto lock feature for all doors. Mom gasped like I just disowned them. "You locked us out." I set boundaries. I corrected. "If you can't respect them, that's your problem." My sister's voice rose. "You think this makes you the bigger person? You think?" I cut her off. "I think this conversation is over." I walked to the door and opened it wide. Out. They didn't move at first. Dad muttered something under his breath about ungrateful kids. My sister grabbed her bag and stomped past me, muttering about how she'd never forget this. Mom lingered, looking like she wanted one last guilt trip, but my expression must have killed the idea. When the door shut, I stood there for a full minute, breathing like I'd just run a mile. My phone was still in my hand, and as I set it down, it buzzed. A blocked number this time, a text. "Good job. You're going to need to hold that line." No name, no context, just that. By midnight, I had 64 missed calls, half from my parents, half from my sister, and a few from numbers I didn't recognize. I turned my phone face down, made tea, and sat in the quiet. For the first time in years, the house actually felt like mine. The morning after the 64 missed calls, the silence felt strange. No texts, no knocks. I fed my wife breakfast, checked the cameras, and went to work. Around noon, the negative narrative started spreading. Aunt Linda posted one of those vague family over everything statuses. My cousin DM'd me screenshots from the private family chat. I'd stolen a generational home. My wife was alienating me from my roots, and my sister was the true victim. Then a new angle appeared. Apparently, I had struggles with communication and needed intervention. Convenient. Considering they were the ones planning a recorded meltdown at the shower, I didn't reply. I documented every post, every message saved to a shared folder my wife could access. I sent a single text to the family thread, all future communication in writing, no unannounced visits, no access to our property. Violations will be reported. Dad responded with a thumbs down. Mom sent a prayer emoji. 2 days later, my doorbell rang at 7 a.m. The camera showed my parents flanking my sister, who was holding a small suitcase like a prop. I answered through the speaker. "We're here to help set up the nursery," Mom announced, pitching her voice up like I was a toddler. "No entry," I said. "Leave anything at the door." Dad stepped into frame. "Son, don't make this harder. You owe your sister stability while she gets on her feet." "I don't owe her my house," I said. "Goodbye." I watched them argue on the sidewalk for 5 minutes. Then they left the suitcase. Inside was a list of house rules my sister had written for shared living, plus a roll of tape to mark her shelves in the pantry. I put it all back on the porch with a note. Return to sender. That afternoon, the unknown number texted again. "Expect a welfare check. They're calling the police on you." An hour later, 2 officers showed up, polite but clearly annoyed. I invited them in, showed the cameras, the messages, the deed, and the shower toast video a cousin had leaked to me. One officer, "We get these a lot before babies. You look fine, sir. We'll note the harassment." While they were there, my phone lit up with another message from the unknown. "Good. Now file a no trespass letter and send certified copies." I typed back, "Who are you?" "Someone tired of their games." I printed the letter, posted it on the porch, emailed the PDF to the precinct, and mailed copies to my parents and sister. I also contacted the hospital to update our delivery visitor list. Only my wife's sister, our neighbor, and me. Everyone else blocked. The next wave was conciliatory. My mom called my wife instead of me. "Sweetheart, give me a key so I can tidy up before the baby comes," she said brightly. My wife put her on speaker. "We're fine," she said. "Also, stop calling me at work." Click. Dad tried money shaming. "We changed your diapers, fed you, housed you," he said in a long voicemail. "The least you can do is provide shelter for your sister." I saved it. Then I made a new move. I canceled the auto pay to their utilities that I'd quietly kept going out of habit. I sent a final transfer marked last assistance. Do not request again. Then I blocked payments at the bank level. My sister escalated. She posted a carousel of old family pictures with a caption about losing her home to paperwork. She wasn't subtle. Some people care more about a deed than blood. Comments piled up. A few friends sided with her. Others asked uncomfortable questions she ignored. When she posted a photo standing outside my house with the caption, "See you soon," I reported it and added it to the folder. Life inside our bubble changed fast. Without constant demands, our evenings were quiet. We made a list of small wins. Car seat installed, stroller assembled, meals prepped, passwords updated, yard gate fixed. I started sleeping again. My wife's shoulders dropped from her ears. We laughed at dumb shows. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for the next emergency text. The unknown text finally identified itself. My aunt on Dad's side, the quiet one who never took sides. She'd overheard my parents planning to surprise move before the baby made it complicated. She recorded the shower rehearsal, yes, rehearsal, and sent it to me. My sister practicing lines about the deed being a mistake while Mom reminded everyone to keep the camera steady. I watched the video twice, then forwarded it to the officer's email with a brief note. I didn't blast it online. I didn't need to. I just needed a paper trail. When the due date crept closer, my parents tried compromise. "Let us stay the first week to help at night," Mom offered. "We'll bring groceries." I said, "No, we can take turns," Dad added. "We'll sleep on the couch." "Also no." Then the guilt pivoted to fear. "What if something goes wrong?" "You'll need us," Mom said. "We'll manage," I replied. The night my sister finally understood was the night she tried the back gate. The motion alert pinged. I spoke through the speaker. "Leave now." She sputtered. "You can't do this to me." I repeated, "Leave now." The next morning, I received a long text about how I damaged our relationship. I responded with one sentence. "Your bond cannot require my roof." Days later, my dad called from a new number. "We can't afford the rent increase," he said, voice flat. You thought I'd fix it?" I said, "I'm about to be a father. My priority is my household." Silence. "Then you'll regret this." I hung up and blocked the number. It wasn't all clean. Some relatives stopped talking to me. A few friends drifted. My wife cried once because she wished it didn't have to be like this. I told her the truth. It always was like this. We just stopped pretending. The final ripple before the baby came was small but perfect. A cousin I barely knew sent a message. "Proud of you for breaking the pattern. If you need anything, I've got tools and a truck." I took a screenshot and added it to the folder. Not for the police. For me. When our hospital bags were zipped and the car seat clicked, I looked around the house. No drama, no suitcases on the porch, no house rules taped to my walls, just our things, our plan, our timing. They thought I'd bend because I always had. Instead, I did something new. I kept the door shut and the line firm. And the longer it stayed that way, the quieter everything got. Except inside our home, where it finally sounded like a life we chose. Our son arrived on a Tuesday before dawn. The delivery was messy and loud and perfect. While my wife slept, I sat in the dim hospital light with him on my chest and realized the noise in my head was gone. No vibrating group chats, no calendar of family emergencies, no fear of some new demand ripping through our door, just breathing. Mine, his. That was enough. We sent a short text to everyone after sunrise. "Mother and baby healthy. We're resting. No visitors." Predictably, the phone started ringing. I muted everything and held my boy until the nurse gently pried him off me for checks. The unknown number, my quiet aunt, texted a single line. Proud of you. I saved it like a receipt for the life we just bought. Back home, the pattern break held. We did weird little laps through the house at 3 a.m., traded naps, learned the squeaks. My wife's sister stocked our freezer. Our neighbor took our trash cans out. People who actually cared showed up the normal way by asking, not insisting. My parents tried one more angle. A congratulation basket and a key hidden under a ribbon. I put the basket inside and mailed the key back with a copy of the no trespass letter. My sister posted a poem about orphans of paperwork. I didn't reply. I fed the baby. Then something shifted I didn't expect. My dad stopped leaving voicemails. My mom's posts got less pointed. My sister went quiet after a short teary message about focusing on her healing. I didn't mistake silence for remorse, but I recognized a truce when I felt one. Boundaries bored them. Attention was the reward. We weren't giving it. Weeks later, my aunt sent another text. Thought you should know. Your parents sold some furniture to cover bills. They're embarrassed, not asking for help. I read it twice. The old me would have called, lectured, paid, resented, repeated. The new me held my son, kissed his forehead, and said out loud, "It's not my crisis." It felt like setting down a bag I'd carried since childhood. My wife asked if I missed them. Honest answer. I missed an imaginary version of them, the one where decisions were fair and help flowed both ways. The real version demanded access and called it love. I'm not angry anymore, just done. The apology came in stages. Dad sent a postcard with a photo of a lake we used to visit, with words in his clipped handwriting. Hope you're all well. Mom followed with a text about a casserole she used to make, asking for the baby's size so she could knit something. I kept the replies short, factual, kind. I didn't reopen the gates. We met once in a neutral place for an hour. I outlined the rules again. They nodded more than argued. My sister didn't come. Fine, I'm not rewriting history. They rehearsed a scene at my baby shower to claim a house they hadn't purchased. They involved the police in a property dispute. They tried to use emotional pressure to gain access. That happened. Forgiveness for me isn't forgetting. It's putting the memory in a file where it can't run my day. Here's what had changed. I'm no longer the family ATM, landlord, or crisis line. I'm a husband and a dad who protects his home first. It looks small from the outside. Codes changed, keys returned, phone set to do not disturb. Inside, it's huge. I'm present. I notice my wife's laugh when the baby sneezes. I hear the tiny sigh he makes before sleep. I cook, I breathe. Every so often, a relative tests the line. Could she stay for a week? Can you co-sign? Can we store a couch in your garage? The answer is a copy-paste I keep in my notes. We don't host, loan, or store. New parents, limited bandwidth. Hope you understand. Some don't. That's their puzzle, not mine. A month after the birth, I got another unknown text. Thank you for not letting them move in. I'm out. It was from my sister's boyfriend. He said the whole takeover had been their idea, and he'd gone along because he wanted points with my mom. I didn't reply. I deleted it and took my kid for a walk. The last sign I needed came from someone I didn't expect. My cousin who filmed the rehearsal. She wrote, "I'm sorry I almost helped them. Seeing you say no made me say no to my mom about something that's been draining me for years. I can breathe again." I sat with that for a while. Boundaries don't just protect you. They show other people where the door is. I'm not the villain they painted. I'm also not the savior I tried to be. I'm just a man who learned that loving your family and funding their choices are two different jobs, and I only applied for the first. So here's my conclusion. Plain and simple, I'm not guilty for choosing my household over a script I never wrote. I won't apologize for locking my door. I won't carry grown adults through consequences they built themselves. The house is ours, the child is ours, the life is ours. And the proof I did the right thing shows up every night around 2:17 a.m., warm and loud and hungry, reminding me exactly who I'm responsible for. I get up, I change him. I hold him against my chest while the neighborhood sleeps. The old phone storms don't wake us. The past doesn't either. I didn't win a war. I just stopped fighting one that should never have been mine.